Dumped into Thailand's most ruthless prison, a white foreigner shows up with no allies, no interpreter, and no idea what's about to hit him. Guards strip him naked, mock him, and beat him senseless in front of the whole block, while the other inmates laugh. What none of them suspect is that this wrecked, hollow-looking man used to be a top-tier boxing champion. The movie starts with a fighter named Billy, who takes part in illegal underground bouts in Thailand. He's talented, but never gets the spotlight or respect he deserves. Stuck in the same rough environment he used to fight in, he slips deeper and deeper into hard drugs. To keep feeding his habit, he eventually turns to pushing dope. One day, the cops swoop in, and when they search him, they find both narcotics and firearms. He's slammed with a heavy sentence. Before being thrown in with the general population, the guards process him, run medical checks, and read out the prison rules in front of the other inmates. Anyone who steps out of line gets punished brutally. Inside, the world works differently. No one does anything for free. Every favor has a price. Everybody's out for themselves. At one point, when Billy goes to fill up water, he ends up clashing with a gang. It isn't really his fault, but when the guards show up, the other prisoners blame him for everything. Billy is tossed into a tiny isolation box where you can barely sit without folding yourself in half. After 3 miserable days in that cramped hole, he's transferred to another cell. This one houses some of the worst criminals in the prison, and they've built a crew led by a guy named Kang. They ask Billy what landed him there. Billy admits he was busted for selling drugs. The whole cell bursts out laughing, mocking, and taunting him. Eventually, lights go out and everyone settles down for the night. In the middle of the night, Billy heads to the toilet and catches the gang viciously abusing a new inmate. He freezes, terrified. He wants to step in, to stop it, to protect the kid. But the men turn to him, flash a knife, and warn that if he says a word, they'll do the same to him. Shaking with fear, Billy backs off and returns to his spot, lying there in silence. He's already scared of these men, and he forces himself to shut down, trying to bury what he just saw and fall asleep. The next morning, he finds out the new prisoner they tortured died during the night. Realizing he could have intervened, Billy feels like his skull is going to crack. He had the strength to stop it, but he didn't. His cowardice cost that boy his life. The shame and trauma eat at him, pounding in his head. He goes to the warden asking for something for the pain, but the warden tells him that if he wants anything, pills, favors, anything at all, he has to pay or trade cigarettes. It's totally corrupt, and the sight of it sends Billy over the edge. He snaps and lunges at the guards, swinging wildly at everyone nearby. Out of his mind with rage, he doesn't even understand what he's doing. After battering the guards, he sinks his teeth into one officer's throat. Reinforcements rush in, beat him down brutally, and drag him off. They lock him in yet another cell, still bleeding and barely conscious. In this new cell, he meets a transgender inmate named Fame. Fame cleans Billy's wounds and rubs ointment on his cuts, but Billy barely says a word to him. Soon after, the guards bind Billy's wrists and ankles with ropes so he can't attack anyone else. Slowly, his routine inside starts up again. One day in the canteen, Billy notices Fame is working the line. He begs him for help and asks for 2 packs of cigarettes, because in this place, smokes are as good as money. He swears he'll pay him back somehow. Fame hesitates, doesn't really want to do it, but eventually feels sorry for him and hands over the 2 packs on loan. Billy goes straight to one of the prison dealers, trades the cigarettes for cocaine, takes the hit, and passes out cold. That night, 3 inmates are murdered inside the prison. All the prisoners are yanked out of their beds in the middle of the night and searched as the guards hunt for the killers. When they get to Billy, they see he's high and barely aware of what's happening. They find drugs in his shirt, the same kind used in the murders. Instantly, Billy is pegged as the prime suspect. For a moment, it looks like he's going down for the killings, but he gets lucky. The police eventually figure out those drugs weren't originally his. He'd taken cocaine, while the other substance belonged to another inmate who'd been standing behind him earlier. the real owner, who planted the stash on Billy to cover his own tracks. In the end, the truth comes out. That inmate is exposed, and Billy is cleared of the murder charge. The next morning, a guard approaches Billy with more drugs. Exhausted, depressed, and craving an escape, Billy takes them without protest. But when the guard demands payment afterward, Billy has nothing left to trade. So the guard gives him a sinister alternative. If Billy kills someone for him, the debt disappears. Cornered and desperate, Billy reluctantly agrees. The guard orders him to attack the Muslim cooks working in the prison kitchen, men who have done nothing wrong. Billy ambushes them and beats them so savagely that they're left barely clinging to life. The guard watches with satisfaction, delighted by the violence, and offers Billy yet another packet of drugs as a reward. This time, Billy refuses. His soul is cracking under the weight of what he's become. A man who nearly killed 2 innocent people just to satisfy an addiction. The shame is unbearable. That night, consumed by guilt and self-loathing, Billy slashes the veins in his arm with a blade, trying to end everything. Other prisoners notice the blood before it's too late and call for help. Guards rush him to get medical treatment and save him. Soon, the authorities conclude that Billy is mentally collapsing under extreme stress. As a small gesture of mercy, they finally remove the ropes binding his wrists and ankles. For the first time in weeks, he can move freely again. With his hands unchained, Billy wanders the yard and notices a group of inmates practicing boxing. His old world. His old life. Drawn by instinct and hope, he steps toward the training ring, but the coach immediately kicks him out. If Billy wants to train, he must pay with cash or cigarettes. Billy insists that he's a real boxer, a good one, but the coach won't budge. Desperate, Billy turns to the only person who still shows him any kindness: Fame. He asks for one final loan of cigarettes, promising to repay everything with prize money once he qualifies for the boxing team. Fame hesitates, but he can see something honest in Billy this time. Something trying to come back alive. He gives him the cigarettes. Billy takes them to the coach. This time, he's allowed to hit the punching bag. As soon as he starts, all his rage, grief, shame, and regret explode out of him in a flurry of punches. It's the first time in months he feels something like purpose. Later, during his trial round, he performs so well that the entire room goes quiet. His movements are sharper, cleaner, and more unpredictable than anyone there. He earns his place. From that day on, Billy returns to training daily. The coach notices his grit and begins pushing him hard, determined to prepare him for the upcoming competition. One afternoon, after training, Billy walks into the cell block and finds the prisoners gambling in a fish fighting game. Billy knows the game inside out. He joins the table and, using strategy and skill, wins a mountain of cigarettes. Instead of keeping them, he takes them straight to Fame and repays his debt in full. That opens the door to their first real conversation. Billy asks Fame why he's here. Fame reveals he killed his father, the man who abused him mercilessly for being transgender. Even though his father tortured him, Fame still feels grief and guilt. Tears spill out as he speaks. Billy confesses he has only one person in the world, his father, and even he doesn't know Billy is locked up in a Thai prison. The honesty breaks down the last wall between them, and the two grow genuinely close. They finally have someone who understands their pain. Billy pours everything into his training. Weeks pass, and the day of the prison tournament arrives. Inmates crowd around the ring. Guards and high-ranking officers gather overhead to watch. The fight begins. Billy's opponent comes in swinging, dominating the first rounds. He punishes Billy brutally, splitting his ear, swelling his eyes shut, hammering him until he can barely stand. But Billy never quits. He absorbs the punishment, survives it, outlasts it. Slowly, his opponent tires. Spotting his chance, Billy unleashes a single explosive punch that lands flush on his opponent's face. The man collapses instantly. The crowd erupts. Prisoners cheer, officers clap. The warden himself nods with approval. Billy has won. Moved by his heart and skill, The warden transfers him to the special boxing team cell block, cleaner, safer, and filled with athletes rather than killers. He tells Billy he's officially selected to fight at the national level in 2 months in a different prison arena. It's the biggest opportunity of Billy's life, and for the first time since entering the prison, Billy feels a spark of hope. Shaken and overwhelmed, Billy goes looking for Fame, hoping their friendship will calm him down. But when he reaches Fame's cell, he finds Fame with other prisoners, busy entertaining them. The sight crushes him. Billy feels betrayed. He had opened his heart to Fame and believed their bond meant something real. Rage and hurt flood through him. They argue, voices rising until other inmates jump in and drag Billy out. He's devastated, emotionally wrecked. Desperate to numb the pain, Billy turns to drugs again, taking a heavy dose to shut out his thoughts. The relief is brief. The overdose triggers internal bleeding, and soon he's vomiting blood. Terrified, he rushes to the prison doctor. The diagnosis is brutal. His organs are failing from excessive drug use, and the intense training has caused multiple hernias. The doctor warns him bluntly. If he takes drugs or pushes his body hard even once more, he'll be signing his own death certificate. But the challenges keep multiplying. Billy refuses to quit. In his mind, winning the upcoming tournament is the only thing keeping him alive. The only thing giving meaning to his suffering. Against every warning, he continues to train violently, pushing his already damaged body past its limits. Finally, the day of the competition arrives. The chosen fighters are transported to another prison, where crowds of inmates and high-ranking officers wait to watch. Just before entering the ring, a sharp, tearing pain strikes Billy's body. It feels impossible to keep going. But somehow, fighting sheer agony, he steps into the ring. Following Thai tradition, both fighters kneel and perform their ritual prayer. Then, the match begins. In the opening round, Billy holds his own. He lands solid strikes and forces his opponent to burn energy early. But as the fight drags on, Billy's condition deteriorates fast. When his rival drives a punch deep into his stomach, Billy nearly collapses. Sensing blood, the other fighter targets Billy's weakened body relentlessly, smashing his stomach again and again. Billy falls, writhing in pain. His performance drops so low that the crowd is convinced he won't survive the next round, much less win. In the final round, Billy's opponent stays in control, punishing him mercilessly. Billy's courage is fading, his body failing. In a split-second burst of desperation and frustration, he lunges forward and drives his elbow into the opponent's throat. The man drops unconscious. Against all odds, Billy wins the tournament. The arena erupts in applause. Inmates and officers cheer wildly. The warden beams with pride, standing to honor Billy's victory. But while the crowd celebrates, Billy's body gives out. Blood spills from his mouth as he collapses. Staff rush in, call an ambulance, and transport him to the hospital. Billy drifts into unconsciousness and remains that way for days. Eventually, he wakes. He's weak but alive. A nurse helps him stand and walk to the bathroom. When he returns, he notices something strange. There's no guard outside his room. Quietly, he steps out. For the first time in months, Billy walks freely through the streets under open sky. The relief is overwhelming. For a moment, he believes he's finally free. But then the truth hits him. Running means living in fear forever. Is that real freedom? He decides it isn't. Billy turns around and walks back into the hospital. Weeks pass as he heals. Once he's stable, the police escort him back to prison. But waiting there is something he never expected. His father, who has flown all the way from England. Seeing him fills Billy with joy. After everything he's endured, it feels like a piece of his world has returned. They share a quiet, emotional smile, and the story closes on that moment of reconnection. In the final scenes, it's revealed that the film is based on the true story of Billy Moore. The man who appears as Billy's father is actually the real Billy Moore, who spent 3 years in a Thai prison before being pardoned by a Thai general. In 2010, Billy Moore was finally released. A book was written about his experiences, and the movie is adapted from that novel. Today, he dedicates his life to helping drug addicts recover and rebuild their futures. That's where this powerful story ends. If you enjoyed the recap, hit like and subscribe to Sigma Recaps, where every film hides a deeper truth and every character fights for redemption. Got a movie in mind for the next breakdown? Drop it in the comments. Until next time, stay sharp, stay Sigma,